What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into TTP Sports. And that's pretty much what we should have expected going into this week against the Dallas Cowboys. They suck. They suck. And no, I don't care that they have Cooper Rush under center as the quarterback. They sucked with Dak Prescott. This team just sucks. Mike McCarthy should have been fired ages ago, and I wouldn't be shocked if another blowout down in Dallas against your hated division rival. And Dallas pretty much has been getting blown out at every home game basically since last year's matchup with the Green Bay Packers. You think this is the final straw for Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones? I have no idea. I have no idea because they suck. They just absolutely suck. My God, it is insane how bad this team is. And yeah, I'm not going to, go too, because the first half was definitely sloppy. It was way closer of a game than it needed to be. Jalen Hurts was taking a lot of sacks. The interception in the end zone, I'll throw more to Diggs just making a really good read and a really good play there on the pass. Looked like he was going to cover Alcantara, then he switched to going to Dallas Goedert, jumped into the play, made the nice catch in the end zone. I'll throw that more as a nice play by Diggs than really a mistake by Jalen Hurts, even though a lot of people are pointing out that, Alcantara was wide open and Hurts missed it. But that play looked like it was specifically designed for Dallas Goedert. Jalen Hurts didn't take his eyes off Dallas Goedert that entire time, and then Diggs just made the nice play, made the nice read, made the nice interception. But then, it was just first half constantly stabbing yourself in the foot. Jalen Hurts taking too many sacks, not throwing the ball away when he has all the time and space in the pocket or when he's getting pressured, and then, takes another sack, forces a fumble, which basically gets Dallas into the red zone. But the defense was very good all day long. Only allowed 2 field goals. Excuse me there. That cough was coming up for a little bit there. Excuse me. But defense was playing good all day long and basically forced, especially as the game went along, they forced so many turnovers on Dallas. One of them was a bad botched snap by Cooper Rush. The other was, on that ensuing fumble by Jalen Hurts, Ezekiel Elliott trying to, pound it into the end zone, gets the ball knocked out. I believe it was by Zach Bond, and then the Eagles recovered that for a touchback. And then, they just kept turning it over as the rest of the game goes, just fumbles all over the place. And then they decide to bring in Trey Lance in the end of the third quarter when basically the game was a blowout and it was just over by that point. Trey Lance just basically throws an air punt when the Eagles have all of their backups out there except for C.J. Gardner-Johnson because, of course, you keep the cockiest player out there on the field for him to go out there and make a play, and that's basically exactly what happened. So overall, defense was just absolutely amazing. They were really good. They took advantage of an offense, especially that had Cooper Rush under center, and, just went up against an offense that was struggling and made an example of them. Just go out there, dominate, basically stuff everything. And then, it was kind of getting frustrated to the extent because the offense was leaving a lot left on the table, leaving a lot left to be desired, and putting a little too much pressure on the defense just because you were letting Dallas hang around. And if you continued to let them hang around, maybe there would have been that one drive where Dallas goes down the field and they eventually do something. Nope, that didn't become the case. I guess you could say the one drive they went down the field was the fumble by Zeke. Yeah, that was the fumble by Zeke, not after the turnover by Jalen, even though the defense still made a couple of good stops there. I believe after the fumble by Jalen was when Cooper Rush had CeeDee Lamb wide open in the end zone, but CeeDee Lamb lost the ball in the sun, lost the ball in the glare, because for some reason, the geniuses down there, mainly Jerry Jones, had the brilliant idea of building the AT&T Stadium in the direction of where the sun sets. Having the windows right there perfectly where the sun sets. You see the gigantic glare shining down inside the stadium on the field during the play when the sun is setting. Whose brilliant idea was that? because it clearly affected both teams. Now, do I want to really throw all of Jalen Hurts' mistakes on the glare coming in from the sunset? No, because I think there were, just Jalen Hurts was, I'm not sure if he let the interception in the end zone get into his head a little bit, because that's basically where, after that interception, is really where he started, holding the ball way too long, taking bad sacks, everything like that. It was Jalen Hurts was just being annoying at that front, and it was getting people rightfully frustrated, because this should be a game where there should be no pressure on the defense. You should be scoring mainly on every drive here. And yes, did the Sun have some implications in that? Maybe it did affect it to an extent. I'm not going to throw blame on the Sun, because I do think at the end of the day you do need to execute there. Like I said, the play by Diggs in the end zone was a good play by Diggs, but I still think there were maybe a little too many, situations where you're trying too much to take a deep shot downfield. Just, get quick passes out, get the slant going with A.J. Brown, get, Saquon Barkley, let him go in there and feast. And there was a little bit of scare with, Saquon Barkley, because leaves after the first half. This was after the fumble by Jalen. I think one of the Dallas players that was going down on the ball, Saquon was going after at the same time, and I guess one of the players for Dallas landed on his hand. So Saquon off the field in the first half, just staying on the sideline, getting his hand looked at. He played the rest of the game, so there's definitely nothing to worry about there. I think there were situations where Slay left the game after one of the first drives for Dallas. Dallas Goedert left after a certain play. I believe that was after the interception by Diggs. But I don't think there was anything clearly to an extent where, Eagles missed some time on the field or they had to leave the field for some reason. So just overall, good stuff here by the Eagles. Third quarter, they definitely just went to town and got all their points, and just forcing turnovers, defense doing their thing. Jalen Hurts gets a couple of touchdowns. Freaking Johnny Wilson, out of all people, gets a touchdown. That's basically what the way this game was. It was a good play by Jalen Hurts, too, to avoid a couple of tackles, just break a couple of players. And then you found Johnny Wilson, who made a nice catch in the end zone. Dallas Goedert also had his catch, too, in this game, coming back, so that was nice to see. Would have been nice. Excuse me there. Would have been nice to see Saquon park it in. I'm just saying. It would have been nice. But, can't have everything good in this game, I guess you could say, at the end of the day. So, I guess, man, it's just one of those crazy things. But once again, I guess we come to the recollection that Dallas just completely sucks. My God, they are bad. So looking at some of the stats with this game, Jalen Hurts, 14 of 20 in his pass attempts. He had 202 yards, had 2 touchdowns. He had the 1 interception in the end zone. He did take the 5 sacks in this game. So like I said, there was a mix of good Jalen Hurts and the mix of bad Jalen Hurts in this game, which frustrated me a lot in the beginning, but he definitely did tone it down as the game went along, which was nice. And maybe, like I said, maybe the glare does have something to an effect there, but we'll see as the weeks continue. Saquon Barkley had 14 carries for 66 yards. I think the Eagles were definitely staying a little precautious with the soreness in his wrists. So, and also especially since this is going to be a short week going into Thursday against the Washington Commanders, and it was also huge that Washington lost today to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that game went down basically to the wire, which I also think this is the reason why a blowout in this game was necessary, so you can rest your players, rest your starters, and that started at the end of the third quarter. You saw Kenny Pickett out there at the end of the third quarter, which was huge for you, basically, because it just gives guys rest. It gives guys, you don't have to play down to the wire. You get guys off their feet, you can rest them for the rest of the game, because it's a short turnaround, quick turnaround. You play Thursday against the team that you're fighting with now for the NFC East Division, and that was the game they played against Pittsburgh that went down to the wire because, not because the game just went down to the wire. It was a very back and forth style of game that Pittsburgh ended up winning. So it's going to be huge that, I guess you could say, at the end of the day, you'll be the more rested team just because you got that extra quarter of rest where you didn't have to play your starters. So there's something to a benefit there. So like I said, Saquon, 14 carries for 66 yards. Jalen Hurts, he had 7 carries for 56. He had 2 touchdowns on the day. A.J. Brown, he had 5 receptions for 109 yards. One of them was a 44-yard pass, was just a beautiful catch there by A.J. He had 7 targets there. Jahan Dotson, he had a good deep catch today. 1 reception, 1 target for 27 yards. Dallas Goedert, he had 3 targets for 2 receptions and 25 yards. One of those was a touchdown. Devontae Smith, he was targeted 3 times, made 2 catches for 14. Saquon had a catch in there. Kenny Gainwell had a catch. Anaya Smith had a catch. Johnny Wilson, his only target was the touchdown in the end zone, so that was funny to see. Just looking at some other things, Zach Bond had himself a really good game. Nakobe Dean made a couple of good tackles. Reed Blankenship and getting one of the fumbles. Jalen Carter had a sack in this game. Same thing with Brandon Graham. And just looking at some of the fumbles here, because they were just so many of them for Dallas. It is absolutely really funny there. So I believe Zach Bond recovered one of the fumbles. Milton Williams recovered one of the fumbles. Reed Blankenship and also Cooper DeJean recovered one of the fumbles there for the Eagles, so that was nice to see. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson got the interception when Trey Lance was in the game for Dallas. So, hey, you take him as you get, man. It's a really good game overall. Like I said, there were a couple of annoyances in the first half, but, they stepped it up in the third quarter, and they basically went to down on the Dallas Cowboys, which was very fun to see overall. And really, yeah, there were definitely some questionable play calling too in certain situations, but I wouldn't say necessarily it was a bad coaching day. Just did what you had to do overall. And that's the only thing that really matters at the end of the day. Took care of business, and that's the only thing that matters. Man. There's really not much else to say about this game because this game was just a complete blowout. But you can also just even though they played against Cooper Rush, Dallas's offense overall sucked this year, even with Dak Prescott. The defense has just been feasting these past couple of weeks, and it is nice seeing them force so many turnovers. Now, are they going to force 5 turnovers every game going forward? No. That is just completely unheard of. That is completely unsustainable. But it was nice basically seeing Dallas constantly stab themselves in the foot so many times and just constantly lose the ball. It was funny. It was very funny at the end of the day. And I do wonder, when will the final straw be for Jerry Jones with Mike McCarthy? I wouldn't be shocked if he gets fired after this week. Would not be shocked whatsoever. But, they've been very reluctant to fire him. But we'll see if he lasts the rest of the season now. What else is there? Just looking at some of the stats for Dallas. There were some throws by Cooper Rush where completely off target, spiked it on the ground, basically. He was not good. He was not good. And there were so many things going on. Oh, but Cooper Rush, when he's a starter, he's 5-1. His only loss is against the Eagles. And they're basically going back to the last time Cooper Rush had to start for a few games. Dallas's defense really helped them out there because they, allowed like less than 20 points per game when Cooper Rush was in there. But you're talking about a Dallas team a couple of years ago when their defense was 20 times better. Their defense is 20 times worse than it was then, the last time Cooper Rush started in, action. So, it was a complete difference. Cooper Rush, he was 13-23 with only 45 yards. Took 1 sack. He was not good, and Trey Lance just wasn't as good either. Threw that 1 long arm punt, basically. So, it's fun to watch. Fun to watch Dallas suck. What else can you say? What else can you say? Let's see some stats here just throughout everything, on Twitter. Quinyon Mitchell had a good couple of pass breakups. Cooper DeJean had a good punt return, too. I believe it was like a 30-plus yard punt return. So that was nice to see out of him. Both of those guys have been very impressive as the weeks go on. Got some studs there on the corners of the field with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Always fun to watch those two play. What else are there? What else is there? Yeah, Dallas with the 5 turnovers. And just overall, just a pretty solid way to win Dallas week, basically. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else here overall. No, I'm not really seeing much on that front. Looks like it looks like Zach Bond right now is talking in the press conference, so we'll see where that heads. But overall, I don't really see much else, and I don't think there's really much you're going to be taken from anything from Nick Sirianni this week. You basically just went into Dallas and did what you had to do. Go and dominate against the team that you should dominate. And that's exactly what the Eagles did. And like I said, it's very huge that you got some rest in the final few quarters with, the looming Washington game coming up this week on Thursday Night Football. So that'll be huge. And that'll be a tough game because, Jaden Daniels is the real deal. He is the real deal. Even though A lot of people would like to say that Washington really hasn't beaten anybody this year because looking at some of their wins, they beat the Giants, they beat the Bengals, they beat the Browns, the Panthers, the Bears, the Giants again. They did beat the Cardinals, and the Cardinals definitely are a very surprise type of team this year. But they lost to the Steelers, they lost to the Ravens, and they lost to the Buccaneers in the first game. So whenever they played against a team that is good, they lost. So maybe there is something to that. I'm not sure, but they're 7-3 right now. They're second in the NFC East, and Washington always plays us tough. So we'll see where it takes us. We'll definitely see where it takes us. But just looking to see if there's anything else here on the Twitterverse. I don't think there is. So we do have a voicemail here on the Anytime Hotline. We have a call here from Sean. So might as well get to that before we hang it up here. Definitely going to be more on the shorter side of the streams, just so, I can go and do some other work after this because, doing stuff for Brodes. So let's get this call going. Let's see what Sean's got to say.
Boy, I know it's not your mom and dad's Dallas Cowboys, so to speak, but it still is sweet to kick that team's ass, especially in Dallas. This game was a tale of two halves. The first half was a comedy of errors, namely by the quarterback. The second half, they got their crap together. Let's give it up once again for contributions from our rookie class. Quentin Mitchell shutting down the entire side of the field. Cooper DeJean with a fumble recovery and a nice punt return. Will Shipley got some carries. Jalix Hunt was in on a play or two. Johnny Wilson gets his first NFL touchdown. Great job all the way around. And the kind of game you needed, you get a little extra rest going into the Washington game Thursday. I'll say this to end it. We talk about moves that needed to be made or not made at the trading deadline. There's one the Eagles have to do right now, and I'm sure Howie's working on it. You better get the pen and paper out and sign Zach Bond immediately. This guy has been a menace all year, but especially the last few weeks. He is all over the field, making plays, creating turnovers and havoc. You've got to sign this guy. I know we're anti-linebacker as an organization, but this guy needs to be locked up immediately.
Oh, I agree. I 100% agree. And even going into the season, there were a lot of questions about what the linebacking core was going to be because everyone was saying that was the weakest part, and rightfully so, because no one really knew what Zach Bond was because really didn't play this style of game before in the linebacker position, and no one really trusted the Kobe Dean. And you had Devin White as well in that mix too, and that guy didn't even play. So, and no one really knew what the Kobe Dean was because the guy couldn't stay healthy. So there were rightful questions now about the linebacking core. And the linebackers have played really well this year. Kobe Dean has been getting better every single week. And like Sean said, Zach Bond has been an absolute menace. Dude is just solid every week. He's been really good every single week. And it's fun to watch. I wouldn't be shocked if Howie is getting on the pen and paper to try and get him inked up. Because, that's necessary, honestly. Get yourself. We'll see. We'll see how it carries out for the rest of his tenure. But you definitely got a steal here with Zach Bond in that minor free agent signing. So we'll see how it turns out to be. But think basically covered everything we needed to do because this game was just overall an eyesore for Dallas. That is, and that's basically it. Man. Michael, I'm glad I was not even a thought yet when the Cowboys won their 5 Super Bowls. Yeah, it's only misery for Dallas Cowboys fans. Only a misery. So, I think that'll do it for today, everybody. More of a shorter stream than not. I also have a cat that's trying to beg to get out of here, so definitely going to go and do that. But then also do some editing for the Broad side here after all this stuff is said and done. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in as always. Good win by the Birds. Short week this week with the Commanders on Thursday. So we'll see how everything goes there. And we'll reconvene basically throughout the week. Got Flyers tomorrow, talk about them. And then basically it's all leading up to Thursday night. So we'll see how everything goes there. But appreciate you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Does me a great deal of service. And also use the code TTPSPORTS. $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Great deal. Don't pass it up. Appreciate y'all for tuning in.